Welcome to my YouTube channel. Let's get right into it. Now, in sporting news, Shedeur Sanders broke the internet this weekend, and they took a loss to the Tennessee Titans, but Shedeur Sanders passed for 364 yards. He had 3 passing touchdowns, 1 interception, and plus a 29-yard rushing touchdown, and he joins the like of Joe Burrow as the only 2 rookies to have 300 plus yards passing, 3 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown in a game as a rookie. And in other sporting news, the Indiana Hoosiers football, not basketball, football, is basically changing the climate of college football because the Indiana Hoosiers defeated the Ohio State Buckeyes. Now evolution is real, DEI is real, and time is undefeated. So just a matter of time, things would change, because I never would have thought in my adult life that I would see a quarterback for the University of Indiana by the name of Fernando Mendoza. Yes, Fernando Mendoza. And they got a black running back with dreadlocks named Black. You can't make this stuff up. Now, in political news, the Trump administration, is working out and doing a whole lot of things when it comes to working for America and stopping the wars. And hit that like, hit that notification, and I will have a laundry list tomorrow of the wars that he have ended. And right now they're in negotiations to give a sweet deal to Russia to end the Russian-Ukraine war. But I took some time out of my day yesterday. I wanted to sit back and I wanted to catch the interview with Marjorie Taylor Greene on 60 Minutes. And I sat back and I watched it. I was waiting for something, juicy, something, to talk about today, but I didn't get anything. Only thing that I got from that interview is she is no longer MAGA. She's America first, just like I am. I'm not a MAGA Republican. I'm a nonpartisan independent. And I do understand the purpose of America first, because this is our country, this is our land, and like Benjamin Franklin says, we got to keep it that way. And another situation in terms of the interview with Marjorie Taylor Greene, she was speaking with the interviewer. And the interviewers tried to ask some spicy questions. What are they saying about Trump behind his back? Are they saying anything? She said, sure. And she said, what are they saying behind Trump's back? Well, they make fun of the way he talks. Well, contrary to popular belief, everybody does. I want to make America great again. Everybody makes fun of the way he talks. But she didn't give us anything, because she said once he got the nomination and once he became president, they start wearing MAGA hats for the first time and they start kissing his ass. That's just like any corporation, because like I said, he's the boss. And in other political news, it's entertainment, sports, politics, and money. So politics and money. Now, in Minnesota, they have unleashed the biggest scandal in American history. The biggest scandal in American history. And we all know things come top down, from the governor to Congress members. So Governor Tim Walz, which was the VP president for Kamala Harris, and now we're starting to wonder why, and Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, they are under some investigations right now. And when I say RICO, I mean RICO. Now we got Big U, Eugene Henley, in jail right now, fighting against the RICO. We have some young YNs, the Hoovers, they got a RICO case, and, they tried to get Puffy on the RICO. But this is the definition of a RICO. Now, racketeering, influence, and corruption organization. So the racketeering aspect, they ran the biggest racket, and they talking about it's going to be probably about tens of billions of dollars of fraud with the Somalian community, orchestrated by, the governor as well as Congresswoman Ilhan Omar. And like I said, I have to say allegedly, but when you talk about tens of billions of dollars being allocated to nonprofits, someone has to make the decision from the top. So we have to keep the same energy when we talking about, Big U and the Hoovers and P. Diddy on RICO cases and all of that. This is what the definition of RICO is, and nobody is above the law. So our elected officials, they got some explaining to do. And we're going to have to sit back and see what's really going on, because the Democratic Party as a whole is connected to this entire corruption organization. This is why they are on life support. And in 2026, they will not be relevant because, the Epstein files was basically supposed to be, something that was going to hurt Trump. But as soon as they unleashed partial of the files, Bill Clinton, Prince Andrew, Hakeem Jeffries was soliciting funding for a campaign in 2013, 5 years after he pled guilty for, human trafficking as well as prostitution of minors. So Hakeem Jeffries' email surfaced, and he didn't say and he didn't say that the email was not authentic, because he wanted to get to know Jeffrey better, because they wanted the campaign funding. And it's crazy because Stacey Plaskett, a congresswoman out of the Virgin Islands, claims that he was her constituent, and he's already was in jail, already took the conviction, and she's sitting there texting, taking orders from Jeffrey Epstein. So you can't make this up. And this is why they're washing the internet and they're not talking about it on the mainstream media, because I did my due diligence and I watched multiple news outlets to see if they were going to speak about the Epstein's files, and not one of them even mentioned it. And that's because Bill Clinton and Hillary has been implicated. Richard Branson has been implicated. Prince Andrew has been implicated, as well as Hakeem Jeffries and now Stacey Plaskett, who basically, was texting a sex offender during a congressional hearing. And that is crazy. But the crazy thing about it is we're going to witness one of the biggest corruption, fraudulent situations in American history, because they are going to talk. Everybody's going to save themselves. Everybody's going to continue to, point the finger in a different direction. But the buck stops at Governor Tim Walz, which was a presidential candidate with Kamala Harris. And the buck stops with the Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, because these are, foreign nationals, people from Somalia, bringing in hundreds of thousands of Somalians into this country, the Muslim faith. And as Americans, we got to step up and understand that America is a Christian nation. In God we trust is on the dollar bill. So we got to really understand that one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we have to really sit back and just let this thing play out, because we cannot be compromised by the Muslims of the world. We already experienced 9/11. So we have to sit back and be nonpartisan independents. And I appreciate the fact that the president of the United States is doing what he's doing. And this week, hit that like, hit that notification. I will be, speaking on all the wars that he claimed to have ended. And then we're going to close out with a year-end show. And we're going to start 2026 on a whole different mission, because the Democratic Party will no longer be relevant, will no longer be, part of our lives, and we will be able to move freely as nonpartisan independents. And anything that we need, we can negotiate and work with the current administration, because they love America, just like the $1,000 that they're going to be distributing to newborn babies for investment accounts. A lot of people don't want to, talk about it, but it's fact. And I'm going to keep you informed about that, as well as a stimulus coming in the form of $2,000 next year as well. So let's have these conversations. Let's make it do what it do. So hit that like, hit that notification. It helps the algorithm. And that has been a quick, fast break of this weekend's headlines with your man, Bushan Glover, the B.O. Glover Show, a Better Black America TV on YouTube, and a Better Black America radio show on Facebook. So with that being said, have an amazing day, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.